I first noticed the chairs. Not the dress. Not my sister's hand on Daniel's arm. Not my mother clapping like someone had just revealed a masterpiece. The chairs. They were arranged in 2 uneven rows across the stone courtyard of the vineyard, facing an archway draped in summer roses. The florist had messed up the symmetry. I had meant to fix it before the guests arrived, but there I was, standing at the top of the stairs, holding my rehearsal notes, watching my sister wear my wedding dress. It fit her perfectly. That was the detail my mother pointed out. She looked so much better in white, she said with a soft laugh, the kind she used when she thought she was being honest, not cruel. My sister carefully lifted the hem so she wouldn't trip, the lace sleeves I had designed, the neckline I fought for, the tiny row of buttons down the back. Surprise, she sang, we're eloping tonight. Daniel didn't smile. His face stayed tight and polite, just like in family photos with my relatives. His hand rested on my sister's waist, but it didn't look natural. It looked like it was placed there. A murmur passed through the guests. Not anger, not celebration, just confusion. And inside me, something began to rise, not rage. Not yet. Recognition. This was nothing new. My sister stepping into something that belonged to me and getting praised for it. My mother acting like it was fate. Me expected to accept it with grace. I looked at Daniel. He wouldn't meet my eyes. That's when the humiliation started to grow strong, fast, overwhelming. But then I realized something else. They thought I didn't know. They thought this was all a surprise. That I'd find out everything here, in front of everyone, and break down or lash out. I set my notes on the nearest chair. My hands were steady. I was proud of that. Is that so? I asked calmly. My sister giggled, thinking my calmness was shock. We didn't want it to be awkward, she said. But we've been in love for months, right, Daniel? He swallowed hard. My mother stepped forward like she was overseeing some official transfer. These things happen, she said. You two were never quite right for each other. That hit harder than the rest. Never quite right. I nodded slowly, then pulled my phone from my bag. There's something about a phone lighting up in the fading light. It gets attention without trying. I'm glad you're all here, I said evenly. It saves me from sending emails. Daniel finally looked at me. I opened the first message, a forwarded thread from 3 weeks ago, his name at the top, the timestamp visible. He had written to my sister that he was confused, that he felt seen by her, that he didn't know how to break up with me without humiliating me in public. He had asked her to be patient. She had replied with heart emojis. I didn't read it out loud. I just turned the phone so the nearest guest could see. One of Daniel's groomsmen leaned in. His face changed first, then I opened the second file, an email chain with the venue coordinator and the officiant. 2 days ago, I'd requested to cancel all legal paperwork and told them not to file the ceremony license. I had explained that it was for personal reasons and made it clear that nothing could be changed without my written approval. I looked up at the reception hall doors. Right on cue, or maybe because she had been watching the whole time the venue coordinator stepped outside. Marisol, efficient, calm. I'm sorry, she said, addressing the guests in a professional tone, but I need to clarify something. This event space and tonight's reservation are only under Miss Avery's contract. Payments are non-transferable, and without a valid marriage license filed in advance, no legal ceremony can take place here tonight. A hush fell over the crowd, but this time it was different. Authority does that. It doesn't need to yell. It simply steps in, and the room shifts around it. My sister's smile faltered. That's fine, she said quickly. We'll just go somewhere else. Marisol nodded politely. Of course. But this property won't host it. Daniel's hand slipped away from my sister's waist. That was the moment, not when they showed up in my dress. Not when my mother compared us. But when his hand fell away, my mother turned to me, her voice sharp. You planned this. No, I said, I prepared. I let the difference sink in. I found the messages a month ago, I continued. I needed to be sure, so I gave you all space to decide what kind of people you wanted to be. I looked straight at Daniel as I said it. He flinched. Then I decided what kind of person I would be. No raised voice, no insults. Just facts. A few guests began to straighten chairs, quietly, maybe out of habit. Maybe because truth has a way of making things feel right again. My sister's fingers tightened on the lace of her dress. So what? She snapped. You're canceling everything? Yes. The word felt clean. But dinner's already paid for, I added. The wine's open. I'd hate for it to go to waste. There it was. Not revenge. Not drama. Redirection. Double quotes. You're all welcome to stay, I said to the guests. Consider it a farewell party. My mother stared at me, waiting for me to break down, waiting for the tears, the rage, the begging. I gave her none of that. Then Daniel stepped forward, trying to summon some courage. Avery, he said. I didn't mean for it to happen this way. I know, I said. And that was the truth. He hadn't meant to get caught. He had just wanted to drift along. Men like Daniel always prefer drifting. It lets them avoid making hard choices while someone else bears the pain. I hope you're happy, I said to him, and my sister. Not warmly, not bitterly. Just honestly. My sister searched my face, looking for signs of devastation. In that moment, I realized something important. My pain was part of her fantasy. She wanted to win, yes, but for her, victory only means something when someone else is visibly hurt by it. I didn't give her that. Maris quietly gestured toward the courtyard entrance, a boundary now clearly drawn. Daniel left first. My sister followed, the hem of my dress dragging behind her, still under my name. My mother lingered. You're overreacting, she said quietly, almost pleading. You could have fought for him. I just did, I said. She didn't understand, and that was okay. When she finally walked away, the courtyard felt like it was expanding around me. A moment later, the florist approached, hesitant. Would you like us to reset the arch? She asked. I looked at it, the roses still slightly off-center. Yes, I said. But not for a ceremony, she blinked. For what then? For photographs, I said, of everyone who stayed. And somehow, after that, the evening softened. Glasses clinked. Conversations started again, tentative at first, then more relaxed. My old college roommate squeezed my hand without saying a word. One of Daniel's groomsmen murmured an apology as he passed. I moved around, thanking people for coming. The dress was gone. The fiancé was gone, but something else was gone too. The lifelong habit of being second. The exhausting need to make room for other people's selfishness. The reflex to compete for scraps of love. As dusk settled over the vineyard, I stood alone beneath the arch while someone took a photo. I wasn't smiling widely, but I wasn't shrinking either. There would be paperwork to untangle, questions to answer, grief to face in the quiet days ahead. But tonight, I had done something different. I had refused to fight for anything that made me smaller. The chairs were finally straight. And for the first time all evening, the symmetry held. As the evening wore on, the guests settled into the rhythm of the party, an odd calm hanging in the air. Some had stayed, while others had drifted off. Yet, there was something that hadn't changed. The heaviness, the kind of stillness that only comes when people realize they've witnessed something they'll never forget. It wasn't spoken, but it was understood. I found myself standing near the edge of the courtyard, looking out at the vineyard, once the backdrop for a very different kind of dream. A dream of a wedding that would never happen. It felt almost unreal to be here, amidst the remnants of a future that no longer existed. But there was a strange peace in the ruin, a sense of clarity amid the wreckage. Behind me, I heard the clink of glass, a soft, uncertain sound. I turned to find Marisol, the venue coordinator, watching me quietly. "Miss Avery," she said in a low voice. "I just wanted to say, that was impressive." I didn't reply right away. I simply nodded, my lips pressed tight. It wasn't something for her to fully understand, not for anyone. But the look in her eyes made me feel what? A small recognition. It was nothing huge, but it was something. Marisol shifted her weight and glanced back at the doors where my family had retreated. "I think you did the right thing. Whatever happens now, you can hold your head high." "Thank you," I murmured. I turned back to face the vineyard, my hands folded at my waist. The cool night air settled over me like a quiet, comforting touch, as if the land itself was offering an unspoken apology for the events of the day. A gentle breeze stirred the roses in the archway, their petals shifting slightly as if accepting their own imperfections. It reminded me of the chairs earlier still, crooked, but now perfectly imperfect in their own way. I took a deep breath, letting it out slowly. My heart had stopped racing. There was no more anxiety, no more fear of what would happen next. The drama had ended, and it had ended on my terms. The evening didn't fall into a slow spiral of regret, as I had expected. Instead, a new tone settled, in one of acceptance. People gathered in small groups, chatting and laughing quietly. The wine kept flowing. I found my way to the dessert table. It was a small action, but it felt significant, a tiny way of reclaiming my space. I grabbed a plate, loaded it with a generous slice of cake, then another, and in that moment, I realized something deep inside. I wasn't alone. The quiet presence of those who had chosen to stay, who had decided to witness without judgment, was like a silent, supportive rally. Their presence was enough to erase the loneliness that had threatened to swallow me earlier. It didn't matter that Daniel was gone. It didn't matter that my sister had taken what was never hers to take. What mattered was that I had stood firm. I had reclaimed the power I didn't even realize I'd let them take. As I moved through the guests, a few kind words were exchanged here and there, soft apologies, genuine attempts to make amends. I didn't care about the apologies. What mattered was the space I carved out for myself, a space where I wasn't defined by anyone else's expectations. My sister had thought I would break down. My mother had thought I would fight to keep what had been stolen. Neither of them realized that the greatest act of defiance was simply letting go. I looked up at the sky, fading from blue to dark, almost midnight. Stars began to emerge, distant and untouchable, just like my dreams had once seemed when they were tied to people who never really saw me. But now I saw myself. And in that moment, I understood that it was enough. As the last of the evening light slipped away, I found a quiet spot beneath the archway, the place where everything had begun and where it had ended, not with drama, not with grandeur, but with simplicity. I took a deep breath, and for the first time in what felt like years, I was truly free, and that I knew was just the beginning.